A lot of you guys who follow me may have seen that I was robbed a few days ago. About $11,000 worth of equipment was stolen. It was stolen from this office, the Kinotika office, and it was a pretty crazy day. In this video, I'm going to go over every single detail that occurred that led me to getting robbed, as well as showing any evidence that I have against these two criminals. And I'm also going to have a PSA at the end of this video explaining what you guys should absolutely do based off of what I've learned through this process to prevent anything like this ever happening to you. But first I need to tell you guys about today's sponsor. Almost every video on this channel is sponsored, and especially this video. I want to get it out there that you guys know about this sponsor because that's how I make a living. When you guys click the link in the description, that is how these companies see that this channel is a healthy channel and that people who watch this channel are interested in the products that I'm promoting. So if you could please just bear with me as I talk about today's sponsor, and then we'll get to the video for today. Today's sponsor is Storyblocks, an amazing place to go to get stock footage, images, and motion graphics. No matter what kind of video projects you're working on, chances are Storyblocks has stock footage that lines up exactly with the content that you're producing. In the last video, I kind of came up with a random situation, and I'll do that again today. Let's say you're a videographer with a lot of equipment, and you're just minding your own business. Then all of a sudden, these bad guys break into your house. They break in and steal everything that you own. You call the cops, and the cops go after the bad guys. They eventually catch the bad guys, and they are in prison. All of the footage that you just saw is stuff that I downloaded from storyblocks.com. If you click the first link in the description below, you can learn more about Storyblocks and how using a website like Storyblocks can save you tons of time and money. Often, a lot of stock footage sites charge an arm and a leg for stock footage. You have to pay per clip. Storyblocks is actually a subscription fee. It's like Netflix for stock footage. They also provide motion graphics and After Effects templates that you can download from their site as well with their video package. And there's other packages that also include audio, sound effects, and music. So to learn more about Storyblocks, click the first link in the description below. That shows your support for this channel. And I'd like to thank Storyblocks for sponsoring this video. So the story kind of begins with the sale of my Inspire 2 drone. I love the Inspire 2, it's an amazing drone, but it's a little overkill for what I do. So I was pretty stoked to sell this thing. You know, it's worth about $3,000. I also have the X7 gimbal, so I was selling that as well, totaling to about $5,000, $5,500 or so on the used market with that drone, with that gimbal, and all the accessories that I have. I posted the thing on OfferUp, and we got a couple of hits, and it wasn't until this one guy named David that reached out to me that we seemed to have a real buyer on our hands. He seemed interested in it, and he gave me his phone number. I reached out to him, and he gave me his information and asked if I could meet up with him in Ontario, California. I didn't feel right about that, so I said, no, how about you meet me here in a public space? So we did just that. We met in a public space. It was actually near the leasing office at my apartment complex. There was a bunch of security cameras around there, and it actually snapped a picture of these two guys. So I'll put that on the screen right now so you can see. It's obviously not the best security footage in the whole wide world. It's not HD at all. There they are. We met in that location. I took the drone up and I flew it around and I just showed it to them. They said that they had $9,000 cash, that they had a Phantom 4 Pro and they sold it, and they're looking to upgrade to the Inspire 2. They shoot music videos and different kind of short films and indie projects, so everything checked out. Everything seemed okay. One of the guys actually mentioned that he watches YC Imaging and that he's a big fan of his, and I mentioned that Christopher's a good friend of mine, so I thought everything checked out. Everything seemed okay. I had the X5S gimbal on the drone when we first met up, and they asked if they could see the X7 gimbal, which of course is the more expensive gimbal of the two. And so I said, sure, if you guys trust me, I'd be happy to, you know, bring you over to the office. You know, that's where I have everything, if you trust me. And they said, oh yeah, we trust you, I think. And I said, yeah, you don't have to worry about it. I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. You know, you can trust what I have to say. It's a safe place. And, you know, they obviously went along with it. So I bring them up into this room. This is the living room to the Kinotika office. And of course their eyes light up. I have a Blackmagic Pocket 6K sitting on the table here, the 4K, I've got a Nikon Z6, I've got my Olympus camera. And again, I want to remind you guys that I am super naive. I am very trusting, and I do not think anything of it. There's been no red flags up until now. And then they look over, and I've got a couple of boxes of Yeezys sitting in the corner, and they asked me about that. As you can see right there, I've got some Yeezys. These are called the 380 Aliens, and there's the box right there. They saw these shoes, and they were really interested in them. I wore these just a couple of times. A little dirty, but they're still pretty much in like new condition. And those shoes are worth about $500. So the guys that were in here looking at the drone saw them and they're like, hey, those are pretty nice. You know, are you selling those too? And I said, yeah, sure, I'd be happy to sell you those. You know, they said, cool. You mind cleaning them off for us? They're a little dirty on the bottom. If you clean them, we'll buy them. So I very quickly am like, sure, I'll clean them up for you. So I pull out my little shoe cleaner kit and I'm, you know, scrubbing away on the Yeezys here, on these actual ones. They're a little dirty on the bottom, but it was really nothing. I only wore these once, so they really weren't that dirty. And I was standing right here, and they were in the living room, and the drone was in a box, and I had my Blackmagic 4K sitting on the table here. I had the Z6 on the table over there. And one of the guys actually asked me if they could use the restroom. I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. So they use the bathroom, you know, whatever. Come out, and I'm standing here cleaning this. I'm like, hey, how's this looking to you guys? And one of the guys says, it's still a little dirty. And I did a really good job cleaning it. But I was like, whatever. So I keep cleaning it more and more and more. And they're just standing over here, and it seems like everything's going fine. And the first kind of red flag hits me when one of the guys says, do you mind if I just look around? I'm really in awe of this place. And that was the real kind of first time that I felt uncomfortable with these guys. I said, no, I don't really trust you, but I do, if you know what I mean. And he said, yeah, sure, no problem. By the way, this is what I was seeing as I was cleaning the shoes. The Blackmagic 4K was sitting here, and my Z6 was on the table over here. The two guys were just standing here talking to me. One of the guys asked to use the bathroom, and this is where he asked me to look around because he was in awe of the place, right? So I'm standing here, and this is the view that these guys would have of me as I'm kind of cleaning the shoes. And one of the guys just kind of off the cuff says, what's that over there? And I turn my head, and they grab the Inspire 2 and just run. They also happen to have the Blackmagic Pocket 4K that was sitting over here, Blackmagic 6K, the Nikon Z6 with the 24-70 lens, and Jesus is King hoodie from Kanye West, which is ironic to me. I love the thought of some criminal walking around with a hoodie that says Jesus is King on it. It's super ironic. I've kind of put it all together in my mind after it's all happened. I think what they were doing was they were obviously distracting me while I was cleaning the shoes, and they took all the cameras and wrapped it into the hoodie. That way it's just a ball of cameras, the 4K, the 6K, and the Nikon in that ball. And then I already pre-packed the Inspire for them, so all they had to do was just grab the box. So the two of them ran out the door as fast as possible. I was in complete shock, obviously, because I was just not expecting it. I then run after them. I was barefoot, went down the stairs about the same rate, and then once those two guys hit the ground, they just bolted. They were fast. They were so much faster than I was, and they split up into two segments. One guy went down the walkway, one went down the driveway at the apartment complex here. And I was running as fast as I could after one of them. I was just shouting, come on, guys! What the heck? You know, I just felt like I could trust these guys, and I felt so violated. And I just kind of realized, you know, what am I going to do if I get up to them? Fight them, you know, get in a fist fight? Didn't know if they had a weapon, like a knife or a gun. So I figured, it's just material items, I don't care. I'd rather be alive and lose some gear. So after I decide that I'm going to give up on chasing these guys down, I call the cops, call 911, and they ask me, do you have a license plate? No, I don't have a license plate. Do you have an image of them or a phone number? And I do have a phone number, but it's probably a burner phone. I didn't have any pictures of them at the time. You know, I didn't have footage from the security camera. But the cops show up within 10 to 15 minutes, really quick, very professional. There's 3 of them, and eventually just one of them decides to help me with the case. He sits down right here on this couch, and we go over every single detail that I just shared with you guys. He writes it all down. You know, we go over each item that was stolen, you know, the Z6 with the kit lens, the Blackmagic cameras. He takes pictures of those items, and I send him images of those items and the drone. Also, one of the guys actually ran so fast that he left behind one of his shoes. So the cop took that shoe as evidence, and so we have a shoe size, which is great. Later, I find out that because I let one of the guys use my restroom before the whole crime occurred, there's a perfect little fingerprint right on the handle of the toilet, which I think is hysterical that they were stupid enough to flush the toilet using their finger. Obviously not something they thought of. Hopefully the investigators that are on this case will be able to dust that, and if these guys are in the system, then that'll definitely be flagged immediately. If you are in California and you happen to be looking on Craigslist, OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace, or even eBay, and you see an Inspire 2 with an X7 gimbal, or you see a Nikon Z6 with the 24-70, Blackmagic 4K, Blackmagic 6K, please hit me up. Hit me up on Twitter. Shoot me a DM on Twitter or on Instagram. Just shoot me a DM and say, hey, I think this looks a little fishy to me. Please, please, please let me know if anything pops up on the internet that you see. Also, if you actually do know who these 2 guys are, hit me up on both of those platforms as well. I will get in contact with you and we will talk to the cops about this and try to get this resolved. So here's a little PSA to all of you guys watching who are similar to me. Maybe you're a YouTuber or you have a lot of equipment. Maybe you're a freelance filmmaker, cinematographer. You have a couple cameras, a couple lenses. Right now, go into your closet, find those cameras, and write down the serial code, write down the serial number of each camera. Keep a record of every single serial code, whether you use that in a notes document that you privatize or Dropbox or email. Just make sure that you have all of the serial numbers and receipts to every single item that you own that has a high value, like a big camera that's thousands of dollars. That can really help you if something gets stolen. You can put that out there, give that to the cops, they put it on record, and if that item is pawned off or even sold, it will be flagged and people will know that that item is stolen. Secondly, if you have an apartment like I have, make sure that you have renter's insurance that covers, you know, up to $100,000 of personal damage or stolen stuff. In my case, it would have only costed $15 a month to have something that would cover that, and unfortunately my renter's insurance only covers liability to the landlord. So if there's a wall that gets broken or there's water damage or something like that, that's covered, but my personal items are not covered. Just make sure that you have some sort of insurance that covers your equipment. If you don't have a renter's insurance situation in an apartment, you can get homeowner's insurance, you can get business insurance that covers lost or stolen equipment. So just make sure that you have your equipment insured. And then thirdly, I really want you guys to install some sort of security system. I didn't have anything in this apartment that captured them in any way. If I just had a Ring doorbell on the front of my door, as we were walking in the door, we would have had a clear image of these guys. I don't even have a Ring doorbell on here. And then lastly, I am actually going to get some gun safes, put that in the closet, and when I'm not using my cameras and expensive equipment, I will absolutely be putting those things in the gun safe. Something that is almost completely impenetrable, something that most criminals would not have access to break into. What these guys have done is they've stolen over $11,000 worth of equipment. That's considered grand theft, and that's 2 to 3 years in prison. If these guys get caught, I'll be going to court and I will absolutely prosecute these guys for doing this. It was a total violation of my trust, of my apartment, my office, my home. This is a place that is safe to me, and these guys deserve to go to prison, in my opinion. Again, when I look back on what I did, of course what I did was unwise. I was completely naive about the whole situation. I'm kind of embarrassed about that, to be completely frank with you. Obviously, I shouldn't have done these things, and I know a lot of you guys are going to comment before I say this, and you're not going to watch the whole video to get to this point and say, you should never have done that, you should have met in a public space in the middle of the day, why would you meet at night, all these types of things. I completely understand that. Believe me, I feel like a total idiot. But it really just comes down to who I am as a person. I want to be a trusting person. I want to be able to be honest with people. I want to hope for the best in people, and I think it's a real shame that life in the world is in such a place like this where there's just no morals. These guys could have really been through a lot to get to a point where they kind of become buddy-buddy with me, and then they just run out the door with the stuff. The fact that they think that they can just take something from somebody without earning it, without working hard to achieve that. All the things that I have are a product of the hard work that I've put in over the last 13 years in this career. So I had a lot of pride in the stuff that I own, but the stuff that I own is nothing. The fact that I'm alive, the fact that I'm okay, the fact that my family was not involved in any way whatsoever is really all that matters. And if these guys are low enough to do something like this, and even if they don't get caught, I think I'm still coming out on top. I was kind. I was not racist in any way towards these guys just because they're African American. I did not think anything less of them as people, and I think that's important and that's valuable. Of course I was naive, I was unwise for sure, but it's a real shame that I have to be on edge when I meet up with somebody. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could just trust everyone and love everybody? I know that's what we all hope for in this culture, and at the end of the day, I did the right thing. I trusted somebody, and even though I let them in my home, I was being hospitable. I was showing love, kindness, and I was being trusting, and I was violated. And yeah, it was kind of hard for me to get over for the last couple of days. I feel a lot better now. I definitely had some PTSD the day after. I kept seeing that image of them running out the door with my stuff over and over. Yeah, it's gonna be all right. You know, once we get the security in here, I think we'll be safe here. Really appreciate all the support that you guys have given me over the last couple days. If you could please click that link in the description below for story blocks. That is how I make a living, and especially now for this video, it would mean the world to me if you actually did click the link and share this video out with as many people as possible so we could find these bad guys and put them in prison. I'm Dave Mays, this is Kinotika, and we'll see you next week.